It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of TAXI TV Live. Woohoo! Hello, you guys. Kind of weird for me being on this side of the computer, but we are thrilled. Thank you for being patient. We had a tech problem which is solved now, and I am so happy that we are here with my great friend, Winn Krozack.
Glad to be here. It's an honor. Thank you.
It's an honor. Wow.
It is. Well, I haven't seen you with the COVID and everything. I haven't seen you too long.
It's been at least 2 years, I think.
2 years too many.
It has been. Anyway, Winn and I have been friends for, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. I've been over to this room before and just wanted to share it with all of you guys because it's a cool place. But let's start out by Winn. Tell them, first of all, you should know Winn has been with PRS since they only had 17 employees and now they've got over 400. So he's an old dog.
32 years.
Yeah, 32 years. He's got 9 patents of stuff that he worked on at the company. He was an R&D guy. And now, what's your gig and why are you here on the West Coast?
I talked them into letting me take over the West Coast Artist Showroom in LA. But I started in 1989, and I was just helping Paul with building guitar amplifiers and building cabinets and things like that. And next thing I know, I turned into the R&D director.
Yeah.
And then from designing guitars, bridges, piezo, to all the equipment and all the CNC stuff to build the guitars.
It's crazy. Did you have an engineering background?
Well, look, when I was a kid, I used to walk the alleys of Baltimore City and get broken TVs and radios and turn them into guitar amplifiers, not knowing anything of what I was doing except making it happen.
Yeah.
So I was a complete seat of the pants, or just had an instinct to make it happen. So
wow,
it was fun. But after about 18 years of doing R&D, literally I would, with the CNC code, I would see 280,000 lines of code of CNC code for carving the necks.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, with everything okay over there, Tom? You look stressed. Are the chat room is acknowledging that they're seeing us?
I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Good.
Tell everybody what CNC is.
Computer numerical controlled milling machines.
So it carves the necks.
Yeah, so all the bodies come out consistent, all the necks come out consistent, and it's all carved by machine. But I used to have to, create all the jigs, fixtures, and the programming to do all that stuff. And it got to a point where I would look at a piece of paper, and all of a sudden I would see the machines, what they were doing. I'm thinking, man, it's time to do something different. And plus I was going cross-eyed and blind from staring at computer screens. And I enjoyed creating things, but it was time to do something else. So the artist relations position found its way open. And I thought, well, this is great. I helped Paul work on creating a lot of this stuff, and I knew it intimately down to the alloys and the bridges. I'm thinking, well, man, now I can work with the guys as their own personal musical engineer. And so I took over that, and then we built the show. We created the Nashville market, and then we did the California market. But we built the room here, but I was still in Maryland. But anyway, so they had the opportunity looking for somebody to run this room. I'm saying, well, I can ace this. Plus, I always wanted to do motion picture soundtracks anyway. I figured I was never going to do that from Maryland. As I'm getting older, the cold, goes into the bones and stuff. I'm thinking, this. So anyway, the long and short is I'm out here and I love it, and it's been a blessing. And and then I get to meet people like you.
Yeah, real celebrity. So. Just so you guys know, this room is on a lot of rehearsal studios. Rattle off some of the names that have been in and out of here over the years, because they come in this building to rehearse for a tour.
There's like 14, it's at Center Staging, and there's 14 rehearsal studios here, and then there's an artist relations building with Fender and Steinway and Roland and us and JH Audio. But what was the point then? Were you trying to?
I just want them to know, like the level of artists.
Okay. So the best it ever was, all at the same time. I remember Grammys. They're within 150 feet of me, all at the same time. It was Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, Crosby, Stills, Nash, Josh Groban, Alice in Chains, Kesha, Gaga, Justin Timberlake, Stevie Wonder, and a couple others, all at the same time. So you never really know who's going to walk into your office
And they
at
do.
any time? They do.
They just
it can
literally
happen
walk
now
in.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, I have the door to the outside, which most of them don't. So I have the 3 largest rehearsal studios right to my door. So we'll use this as a green room. So I remember one time we had Dolly Parton and Miley Cyrus in here for a couple hours, and um, um, Rolling Stones music director here doing a shoot with USA Today. So it's fun. You never know what's going to happen.
So Winn is also an audio engineer and an incredible musician to boot, and not just on guitar, but on keyboards. He does amazing stuff with the keyboard. But Tom, pan over and show the console. So Tom's panning, holding my laptop.
That is the BET Television ATI Paragon.
And so Winn buys like old gear for pennies on the dollar. And
it's almost criminal. It's almost
it is criminal. So, later on, we'll show you. He's got like the Eagles live concert console sitting over there about 15 feet away from us. And he's got, tell him about your keyboard rig that's over there, because
well, see what happens is with the gear though, it helps draw all the, I get the whole, I don't get just the guitar players,
right,
which are hard to fish out of the rehearsal studios, but I can hit the rooms when they're first setting up, and the monitor engineers and the front of house engineers and the techs,
right,
all of their techs, and they get one taste of the room, and it's like being in a cross between a museum, guitar and amp gallery, and a studio, all the same thing. Next thing you know, I have the whole band. I remember one time I had Justin Timberlake's whole band just jamming in here. It was that was an honor too. That was a blast.
So Winn will sit down at his Yamaha. Explain, the Yamaha is MIDI'd, and what's the technical name of the Yamaha?
It's a Yamaha Disclavier Pro, one of the first series, and it's a 7.6, and that's another, God bless it, 5 cents on the dollar story. But anyway, so literally you draw it. It's fully robotic recording, reproducing, and you can. I drive a full symphony orchestra from the concert grand. If you can hear it, you can play it.
Right. So he sits down and
from a real concert grand.
But he ad-libs stuff that sounds like it should be a film score. It's quite amazing, and it literally sounds like an orchestra. So he leaves the doors open, and inevitably the bands that are working around here go, "Where's that coming from?
What the hell is that?"
Yeah, and they walk in here and realize it's the PRS showroom.
Well, next thing you know, you've got Gaga poking her noses. What the hell's going on in here?
Yeah. So anyway, you've got a job that's not only enviable, but it's probably most musicians' dream job.
Well, they're more than welcome to come in any time. It's just that the fun is in the sharing, and I've been too blessed. I've been too blessed not to share. That's the one thing you learn as you get older. Giving forward is actually being greedy, because it comes back tenfold. It's true though. It's you just do the right thing and you give forward and you help people, and it's miraculous stuff.
You are a giver, I will give you that. Let's talk guitars a little bit.
Let's do that.
First of all, what was Paul's, give me the short version of Paul's history. Why did he start building guitars?
Well, he started building guitars around 3 or 4 years, I think, before I started with him.
Was he a working musician?
Yeah, and his story is that he didn't think that he was going to be able to be in a big touring act, so his alternative was to make some of the best guitars in the world, and he was working in a guitar repair facility, so he was fixing, Gibsons and Fenders, and in the meantime he's taking all the notes on, what could be better about them, and it's interesting when you look at it, even down to the scale length, he shot right down the middle, and you could accommodate both schools of music on the same guitar, and that's the one thing that's really great working for a company where the owner is actually a really great player. I've seen him hold his own absolutely neck and neck with Santana on a stage in front of 35,000 people.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, he's a great player.
Wow.
And, well, the most important thing too is he knows how to get the tone in from your fingers.
Yeah.
We call them the 2-note guys. The guys that you hear 2 notes and you know exactly who it is just hearing 2 notes, like Eddie Van Halen, Carlos Santana, that kind of a thing.
Interesting. I would say that about drummers.
Oh.
I can hear like a record and decent educated guess, like was it Steve Gadd or Jim Keltner? Anyway, it's a gift.
They're all blessings. Yeah, they're all blessings. Yeah.
So okay, let's talk guitars. Do you want to start with those guys, or you want to start with these?
Yeah,
guys?
let's. Well, some of the most recent ones have been, some of the John Mayer Silver Skies, and they just recently released an Indonesian model that's significantly less money, but as equally as impressive. I've got a lot of the artists.
Well, let's pick a wall and stand up and point to it. Poor Tom. See, you may have to stand up.
Yeah. No, we'll bring it to you. We'll bring it to you. So this is the John Mayer Silver Sky that's made in Indonesia, and it's got the satin neck on it, so It feels great. And I think they changed their radius to a slightly larger radius. But it may be a less expensive guitar, but it's not in terms of quality. It's on the same level of quality of some of the best of some of the other guitar companies. So
what does a guitar like this retail for?
It's difficult for me because I usually only work in artist pricing, which I don't want to give the artist pricing out. But I think this is somewhere around. I think I've seen them on dealers. I think I'm not a price sales guy.
Don't hold it.
They don't hold me to it. So I think that it was somewhere around $825 to $900.
I've got to say the finish on this. All of these guitars have amazing finishes. In this like creamy. Kind of like a creamy.
This is called Moon White. Yeah, this one's called Moon White.
It's like a classic '60s guitar.
And the thing I really like about this one is, some single coil guitars, they sound kind of scooped out in the mids.
Yeah.
And some of the old ones around '61 really had a lot more fundamental in the notes from the pickups. And that's the one thing that I find that's really astonishing on this one is that it seems like there's more fundamental. You still have the pretty highs and lows, but there's more meat in the note.
Yeah.
And so that's this one. And then
is that accomplished by the way the pickups are wound or by the electronics?
Well, it's interesting. I used to work with Lindy Fralin designing pickups. So I'm not sure which tricks they used on this one because I've been out in California now for about 10 years and not an R&D department.
So you know everything about avocados.
There's a lot to know about avocados. The fun part was that I literally got paid for, a long time to literally try to find out the stuff that's not in books about why things work or how things work or why they sounded like that then, now that they don't sound like this. I mean, it sounded like that then, but not now.
Yeah.
And so that was it's an interesting journey working with some of the radar engineers with Hewlett Packard on wire and things like that. So.
Wow, it's beautiful. Okay.
So here's the American counterpart, the U.S. counterpart, I should say. And this one you can come in a rosewood fingerboard, but this one's a maple fingerboard. And this one also has a satin neck. But I just landed on one of these with Jocko with the Kelly Clarkson show. So yeah, we just got that one on that one. And I've had just recently gotten some guitars on the Grammys that they didn't use this model. Yeah. And of course the Super Bowl, which was huge. That guitar is like...
The chrome one.
Yeah, the chrome one, which is what we don't do because we're not allowed to modify guitars. But I know the guy that does it for all the award shows and stuff. Yeah. So they did that, but that guitar, I think it was worth $233,000 a second when it's on the Super Bowl. But then what was really fascinating, Rob Gehringer, who was playing the guitar with Adam Blackstone's production, he was right next to Eminem when Eminem took the knee. Yeah. The next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times and the Washington Post. So it was media stuff that you just could never get.
Did they actually paint it chrome, or did they?
No, it was a wrap. It was
a
wrap.
Like the wrap that they
put on. And those chrome wraps are usually pretty fragile too. They can scratch easily. but they certainly look good. And it was crazy because I've done some chrome wraps for the Super Bowl before for Mike Scott with Justin Timberlake,
Yeah.
where I did a red, white, and blue chrome, red chrome, and this white chrome with American flag. And it didn't get the kind of reaction that this got. I probably maybe because it, it was John's guitar. It was,
Right.
But it took. I mean, I think they think that guitar is worth $100,000 now. Rumor has it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitars where they don't really have a price, can you talk about these guys on the wall?
Yeah, real quick, because I know they like to have things that they currently make. So these are both one of a kind. I keep them in here because this way we can show like the museum grade quality that PRS is known for. So these are both one of ones, or sort of brother and sister. This is the only single cut McCartney 594 hollow body to my knowledge in existence. And it's pretty crazy looking to say the least. And with a curly mahogany neck. And then this guitar is the same as this. It's a hollow body, but I elected to put a 5-inch center block down it and not cut the F-holes in. And this one's quite beautiful as well. And
they sound dramatically different.
This one sounds like it's got a little more directivity and power steering and hitting you with a hammer. Where this one, the envelope of the attack might be a little, more of a complex path.
Is that a technical term?
No, that's interesting. That's the fun part as a former R&D director working with artists, is you learn to try to find the terms that aren't truly technical,
right,
but that they kind of can relate to. And vice versa. They tell me things and I have to, relate it to a technical term.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a great new term. I think I'll steal it.
So this is my 15-year employee guitar. This was my 30-year employee guitar.
So these are your personal guitars?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, when you said they were employee guitars, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah,
wow.
I had the luxury of being able to literally tell them exactly what I wanted to do. And since I knew all the CNC programs, I could, kind of just cross-channel the stuff. And so
wow.
They're both one of ones. Yeah.
If you had to guesstimate a price, what those would go for, is that?
I don't think I'd let the set. I think as a match set like that and being one of ones, I think probably $30,000.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
They're gorgeous.
But it's whatever somebody's willing to pay, and I haven't been able to bring myself to let go of it yet.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, for one thing, it's a compliment to your longevity at the company that they give you those. That's right.
Oh, you are. Paul's very, very generous in how he treats all the employees. I think it used to be when I was there, you'd get, like a 1 year or 2 year, a 5 year, a 7 year, a 10 year. Now they've got 400 employees. So now I think it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So a couple more years and I get number 35.
Wow.
Yeah. God willing.
Very cool. Yeah.
And so some of the other guitars.
Let's
see. This is the Mark Lettieri model, the Fiore. This is a great workhorse guitar. And I tell you what, a lot of times you do the coil taps on this, and this, instead of a coil tap, this is switches it between series and parallel. And actually, I think I like, instead of doing a coil tap on the treble pickup, I think I like doing it in parallel. It brightens up the top end, because you don't have the humbucker doing the cancellations. But it still has a rich warmth, but it's really, really twangy on this guitar. And then this enables so that you can, do sort of an old Fender trick with having the two different pickups. Mm-hmm. And then, so these stay as single coils, but then this pickup can do a, from between series to parallel instead of a coil tap.
Does it make a significant difference in the sound going between?
Yes, very much so.
How, in what way?
It'll change the mid bass. You'll lose some of the like 300 hertz or so in
which
the
way?
mid-range.
When you
lose it go, it'd be diminished. So you'll get more high end
when you're in series or parallel.
In parallel.
Okay.
And a better lower apparent low end, even though it might be close to the same, just because it's changing the frequencies in the mids.
How much does the wood in the body of the guitar affect the tonality?
Listen, everything.
Yeah.
It makes a difference more than you could ever imagine.
So what's the ultimate wood that people should aspire
well,
to?
I don't think there's an ultimate wood. I think
Taste?
I think it's the tool.
Yeah.
You know, like the silver skies. I believe the ones from Indonesia are poplar, and then the ones from the United States, from the U.S. are alder, and they're equally good, but there's just, a little bit of sonic character,
Interesting.
differences. So
how
I don't
about-
believe in necessarily a better or worse. It depends what you're trying to do with it. So that's the other thing that's fun too, is from the engineering background and the playing background, I kind of look at these as like sonic crayons, and I get to work personally with the guys, and so it's important for me to listen to what they do and what they're asking for, or turn them on to possibilities that they don't know exist.
The players.
Yeah.
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 And how much does the wood in the neck affect the tonality?
Well, it's a lot, even just changing the fingerboard from rosewood to a maple. I mean, it's a little more staccato, I believe, in general, because there are always exceptions to the rule. Usually a maple fingerboard with a maple neck versus a rosewood would be a little on the brighter side and a little more staccato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting to know. I've never asked that question before, but now I know.
It's crazy.
A strap with a maple neck.
I probably can't get into some of all the details of, but just wire alone. I mean, there's certain types of wire that you can do where it'll change the resonant pickup by 1K by moving the shield 1.5 inches.
Really?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So
you do know everything about.
No, I know. Well, that was one of the joys of the job, is that, well, see, in the old days too, as R&D, the R&D guy, there was only one person in R&D. So you got to do A through Z, from concept to sourcing the parts to working with the machine shops and the military. There were times when I actually had a relationship with the U.S. Army's Rapid Prototyping Lab. And what was cool is I could have it all in 3D and isometric view on my computer. And then on a Wednesday, and I send them the following Wednesday, and by Friday morning I would have parts sitting on my desk within 0.003 of an inch at 1/10 the money.
How often did you guys conceptualize the guitar and everybody's nodding in the meeting? Yep, we got it all figured out.
And
you built it and it sounds like crap.
No, I don't remember anything not working.
Oh, okay.
But it's interesting creating by committee, which in the old days there was probably a lot more of than what there is now. Because there are a lot more R&D people. I'm not at the factory, but I think there might be at least 4 to 7 in R&D, because the company is so big.
Great ears? I mean, obviously the guys who are testing these after they're built, they can't just be testing like, oh, this fingerboard has great playability. It's got the tonality.
I was very blessed because I had many, many years of ear training and classical ear training. And then with the audio engineering stuff that I was doing, I always tell the kid the most important thing is to be able to put a number on the frequencies, so you know what you're talking about and you know how to really manipulate in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I had years and years of doing that from being as a kid, but I think most of the R&D people over there now are just really great with a lot of the engineering software. And which is great because Paul has a vision, and it's Paul's vision, and that's what he achieves. He achieves on getting the results.
Does he have the final word?
Absolutely. And Paul's ears are great.
And as a player,
as a player, yeah. I mean, I don't know anybody that knows guitars or cares to know about guitars as much as he does.
That is the cool thing about PRS. I'm going to give a plug here, but. Other companies have been bought and sold and regime changes and a whole new set of employees.
A place where you didn't have a guitar player at the top.
Right, and PRS has always had Paul, and it's always been hardcore guys like you. So it is truly guitars built by players for other players.
It truly is. I'm like I say, I haven't actually. I take short visits, but I've been out here for almost 10 years now. So. But I don't know a lot of the people that are over there now. But I know when I was working there, almost a majority of the people that were working guitars were either drummers, keyboard players, guitar players. They were all musicians.
Yeah.
Or most of them were musicians, or really good woodworkers, in the art of wood. So.
Well, we're going to talk more guitars in a minute, but Tom, can you pan to your right and show them? Winn has a drum set in the room.
Well, it's not really just a drum set.
I know.
It's the whole room is. There's been a lot of efforts here now with center stage, and like Korg is right next to me, and then there's Steinway, and then the Fender room is down there. And so one of the things that's happening is a lot of the rooms are going to streaming, live streaming and streaming of product. And what was really important to me is to be able to have the whole band being a part of the fun. Yeah. And so when you have the band and you have the drummer and the rhythm section there, the guitar's not just doing just like a riff or something. They're getting onto it at full tilt.
This is 100%. Not Guitar Center. Guitar Center is famous for the little room where the guy takes a guitar and sits in there and noodles on it for half an hour. Yeah, you're right. This is
the other thing that's interesting too is because this way I'm intertwined with their music. I'm not just a guy to come to if you think you want a guitar. I'm friends with them. I try to be, keep my chops up so I can try to be a peer, because it's difficult to work with somebody if you're not working on the same level.
So do they come to you and you hang with them and get a feel for what they're about as a player? And then you earlier said that guitars are like crayons. Like
right. They're colors, yeah.
Yeah, so do you say, what, I think this would suit you well, take it and work on the rehearsal stage?
Well, here's sort of my trick with it. First of all, it feels like I'm a professional matchmaker in a dating company.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, and so I have to, match. I'm usually pretty good, I think. I think I can do it within 2 guitars.
Wow.
So the most important thing is to listen. To me, a lot of times the guitar players don't even know the prejudices that they have. It's basically, how did they grow up? What did they play growing up? Did they switch off, or have they been playing all single coils their whole life? Have they been playing humbuckers? Doesn't make any difference to them. They'll pick up whatever they need for whatever. So you got to find out where their musical heart is, and then you find out what they have. What they currently have, because they generally aren't asking you for something they already have. They're on the search for something or something that's not doing it for them.
Am I crazy to think that a pro guitarist that's going out and playing stadium gigs, obviously they have an array of guitars that they bring with them, but if they were limited, they would have like one Fender, one Gibson, one acoustic, and that would be the arrows in their quiver. But PRS represents it's aspirational. It's a level up from that and can be tonally in the ballpark of those things, but better.
Well, I'd say maybe in the beginning we had more of one type voice, because we only had one scale length.
Yeah. And
we were primarily humbuckers. But in the past 10 years or so, we've expanded the guitar line physically up to the different scale lengths and the different kinds of pickups and the different kinds of bridges and stuff that I feel that we can pretty much accommodate anybody. Okay. So it's funny when somebody says, "Oh, this guy will never play your guitar because he uses this." So I treat artist relations and guitars like divorces. You don't know what you're in love with until you're in love with something else. So that's part of one of the things I try to do is, especially I tell them to bring their number one guitar in here, because if I play their number one, then I'm going to be able to feel and know why they love what they love. Whether I like that or whether it's for me or not, I'll be able to understand it physically. And then I can go off that and I know which direction. But I can usually land it within about 2 guitars.
And do guys that go out on a tour, do you loan them stuff for the tour, or do they get it at an artist price? and they end up
It's
buying it?
kind of all of the above, depending on the situation. So
I'm guessing you're not going
I
to
just
charge Paul McCartney for a guitar.
Well, I've got to have a lefty here, and I've got to be able to get him in the room. I've tried to get him into the room a couple times. It's still going to try, but and I don't have a lefty here at the moment. It's interesting because his guitar tech literally was like, "Oh, Paul doesn't need any more guitars," so he was like cutting me off. I didn't even have an opportunity, so I figured, well, I had the lefty in here, but you know, with the piano rig, he literally could just be sitting and have the whole orchestra with the concert grand.
Dude,
it makes you feel like you're 16 years old.
Can you do like 30 seconds?
30 seconds, because it is about guitars.
Yeah, I know. Just
let me grab the
30
bench
seconds of improv, just so people can get a little taste of it. Why people get drawn into this room when they hear this thing.
You know, if I could, he would have so much fun. He would feel like he's 15 years old. Let's see.
Don't play anything that's going to get me a copyright.
So let's see what to play. What to play? Just a little ditty.
Hold on. Hold on. I think the audience is about to go crazy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, audience. Thank you.
iCarly is back, baby. I'm still flabbergasted whenever I hear what you do on this thing.
Anything you can hear, you can play. So I like to do string orchestrations for people.
Winn is such a great, he can ad-lib. I mean, literally, I keep telling, for years I've been telling him he should do shows where he works like a 2,500 seater and he comes out and does 5 minutes of just jamming by himself with the whole orchestra and the choir, and then hits the audience for suggestions like, name a scene. Okay, husband and wife having a fight, or somebody making a fast escape after a bank robbery. He can ad-lib all that stuff in like a split second. It's amazing. But I think it's a brilliant idea to have this and what you do drawing people in. Because, I mean, they're on a stage with a bunch of guitar players, or, you know, in a facility like this where they walk by rooms all the time and hear guitars, but they don't hear that.
You know, it's interesting. So I remember one time Michael Bearden, who was Michael Jackson's music director, and also he's music director for Gaga, and because the thing's robotic, and he comes in with a flash drive, and he, you know, because I told him before, you know, if you bring the MIDI files in, it'll play the real concert grand from your MIDI files.
Yeah.
And it was so, you know, that's the other thing. When artists come in and play it, when, you know, keyboard players come and play it, the discovery on their face, and just knowing that a lot of times you don't even know what's going to come out of your hands. It just sounds so beautiful that I look at it like it tells you what to play, you know. And so when I share that with the artists, you know, they're just, first of all, I'm sharing, and then they share more with me, and it's just a much better relationship. It's a musical relationship, and they'll let me play musical doctor with them. You know, they'll let me, for their, you know, trust in their babies and trust in me to try to find a solution to what they need to fix.
What was going on during COVID? Were the stages dead because nobody?
There was one time in March when I was kind of worried about how slow it was, but I haven't been slow. I actually decided that I needed to, when it was slow here with COVID, then I actually started hitting the studios. I actually took some of this stuff and put it in a studio so that I had more options to be able to meet more people. It's funny because we were working with Davy Johnston with Eldon's band, and it's like, yeah, Davy, Eldon can, you know, play this from England. You can be here playing, you can be playing it from England. So. And so you get to be able to, it's on a whole music level. It's not just about one thing. I call it sometimes selling guitars without selling guitars.
Hey, you were born for this job. I mean,
well,
you know.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, you have a very unique set of skills that are really appropriate for what you do. I mean, you speak musician, you speak guitar.
That's the thing is you have to speak music with them.
Yeah.
And you have to truly care about what their needs are. And sometimes you get a guy coming here just looking for another guitar, thinking he's going to, you know, but you can usually smell them right out, you know, and just say, you know, this guy's just, you know, looking for a free guitar or whatever. But generally,
Can't blame them.
well,
Look
no, but
around
I
this
mean,
room.
in general,
It's like
and
guitar porn.
it's nothing about free because, like, I'm trying to think which Grammy tribute they were doing, but
Earl, is this bad light? We're getting.
oh yeah, you need to be on it.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah,
to know
yeah,
this.
Probably cruise around, yeah.
You can tell. We don't do
But I
a
just
lot
had-
of remotes.
I just had to lend some guitars to Errol Cooney's with the Ricky Minor Band, and they're doing a Grammy tribute thing for TV. And so that's why some of these guitars are white and black, because a lot of times, if I can sneak get the white guitar on TV, sometimes
It shows
the artists
it
are
pops
like,
better.
yeah, because a lot of times the artists are like, oh, no white guitars. But the thing is, a regular sunburst will kind of disappear. So I've had opportunities where I had like Eminem on one of the late night shows and stuff, and the PRSs would pop because I was able to get the white guitars, and you don't even see the other guitarist in the middle.
And your whites are so sexy. They really are. It's reminiscent of like 60s Fender.
Well, see, that's why they did it. They did it for TV.
Yeah.
TV, they even called it TV white or TV yellow or something. Gives it black and white TVs.
Go around the room. Talk about some of the other guitars on the wall.
All right, let's see.
People in the chat room must be asking about that.
Here, Here, we'll just go ahead and do this one. So this one in the corner is a single cut 594 P90. This is a Vela semi-hollow. This is a great like indie type guitar. They were loving this at the studio. Michael Blue over at Revolver was using this like nonstop.
Tell them who Michael Blue is, just because.
Michael Blue did Colby Calais' record, and of course you did the video with Ken Calais. So
Sitting in the
I actually took over Ken's room when he had left out, but he just recently put a Dolby Atmos room over there. So
You're kidding.
yeah, so they're in the middle of doing some of the Fleetwood Macs and Dolby Atmos.
I owe him a phone call. He called me during COVID, just checking out, making sure you're okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I thought that was sweet of him. What else you got over
Let's
there?
see. So this is a David Grissom model. So this is a tremendous workhorse guitar, especially like down in Nashville. And it does have a really good coil tab system on it.
Yeah.
So you can turn these to single coils. But the best thing I can say about this is where it sits in the mid-range with the humbuckers. I've had guys trade me private stock guitars. They get a hold of these for down in Nashville. So these work great. This is the Paul Jackson Jr. model, which is a hollow body. And this one's great with an ebony fingerboard. This is the SCJ, which we don't make anymore. Joe Naggs, that was in charge of private stock, I think when he left the company to do his own company, they let him take that model with him. I think. Don't quote me on that one. The orange one and the black one, these are both Fiores. These are the new market-tiering models, which a lot of interest with the artists. And this one's a great workhorse guitar too, because it can cover a lot of ground between single coil and humbucker. These are the Silver Skies made offshore that are just wonderful, wonderful guitars. I have many artists that like them equally as much as the US models. They're just a little bit different. The mid-range is a little thicker in the mid-range in the fundamental.
Like around 700 hertz kind of mid-range? Or higher?
I think I'd say 300 to 1.5K.
Okay.
It's just more like right in the string.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't sound, some single coil guitars sound a little more scooped out, and this one just sounds a little bit right in the meat of the note. And then these are the US.
Pardon me.
The US Silver Skies. And this is a custom finished custom 24, which is the mainstay of the business, has a 5-way, and it does a combination between humbuckers, and then it can go to a series this way and series that way, or both humbuckers with a trim.
I like the way they mounted the knobs on that one with the little recessed area around it so that they don't...
We call the divots.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the, I actually got to design that knob. That's one of the things too, drawing it all in CAD and then working with the plastic injection molding companies and doing all that stuff.
Wow.
And then this is the Granger bass. This is the Granger 4 bass.
Now you've got Tom's attention.
Oh, there you go.
Very nice.
Yeah, and these are powerful sound. These are very powerful.
Pickups are crazy on that thing.
Yeah, I actually designed those too. That was one of the projects I got one. So worked on designing them first, and then I thought, man, I bet you that would be a really, really great blues pickup because as a single coil, because all the amount of magnet and steel I cheated too. Like there was a guitar that had won Guitar of the Year at 305, and I cheated. I put some steel in there, which increases the inductance, which makes it stronger in the fundamental once again.
Interesting.
And I'll show you when I get to it, but it's over there. But this is cool. This is a custom 24, but it has the piezo transducer, so they can do a really good simulation of an acoustic guitar. I've worked with Lloyd Baggs on designing that. Good Lord, was it 18 years ago?
It actually sounds like an acoustic.
Oh, the hollow bodies. I've literally had where the hollow body electrics with the transducer rig actually sounded better than real acoustic guitars with competition transducers. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Toby Keith's engineer actually made a mistake. He thought that he had the lines in the wrong spots.
Oh, really?
Because his guitar player, Rich Eckhart, had one, and he was playing the acoustic transducer, and he thought he had the channels wired wrong.
Some night when you're going to a show where somebody is using that feature, and you're going, call me. I want to go hear that because I am sorely disappointed when I hear anything plugged in that's supposed to.
Oh, you know what? I will say this: that it sounds very cool. It's very complex, and it has six different. Can't count. Six different individual transducers. And so the first thing you do, and it's weird because I designed that with that Eagles console, and it has high and sweepable high and low pass filters.
Yeah.
So a piezo goes all the way down to DC and up past 20K, but your acoustic guitar strings don't, and they do some at different frequencies. So the first thing with each string is you need to frame in the frequency bandwidth for each string individually.
Wow.
And then I had set it up with
I had no idea that there was that much thought.
Oh, it gets it even gets more complex than that. It actually, so I had done it with just the EQ on the console to get it in. Good Lord, it sounded so good. It sounded like you put your head in the sound hole of the guitar. And then Paul said, well, let's do this with, because we always work together and stuff, and it was always a blast. I miss that. But we had 6 31 band EQs, and so each string was going through a 31 band. So we set it by ear, and remarkably enough, the curve was identical except from the frequency of the fundamental of the note of the open string.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically what we were doing, so if you have, this can be the same pickup, you move it down here, it sounds like a middle pickup, you move it down here, it sounds like a treble pickup, but it's the same pickup. So you can imagine moving down to here, it's going to really be thrown off.
Yeah.
So you have all the harmonic and fundamental information, but it's in the wrong ratio. And so what we did is we basically boosted from the open string to the 12th fret second harmonic 6 dB for each string individually based on its fundamental note, the range of the fundamental notes, with the roll-off filters. And then we did a little bit of EQ for the top, mimicking the top.
And you guys thought this was just
about it. I know you opened up.
No, but I love this crap. I mean, stop. I mean, you guys thought this was just going to be looking at sexy guitars. This is fascinating.
But anyway, so it's very complex. I wanted to get more complex with it. And said, "Winn, stop."
No, but it's really cool.
No, I'm talking about when I was designing it. I wanted it in stereo image, and but it's all fun.
Let's go down to that end of the room.
All right.
Tom, if you can, when you pan over to that side of the room, show the Eagles live console.
I don't know if this was live. This might have been, I think it was studio and then converted to live.
Winn is like a hoarder of really cool.
Well, here's the thing is, these are like, so you're painting with all the crayons, but these are the different canvases on which to create the picture.
So when you were talking about using the EQ from the Eagles console as your inspiration,
this was the board when we were doing the piezo electric, that we designed it on this, because it's fully sweepable high and low pass filters. But this thing, good Lord, when you just take right and left through it, and the stereo image,
Yeah.
I mean, you always hear the story of all the analog stuff, but this is like exponentially.
Is this a transformer or transformer?
Yeah, it's 400 pounds of transformer.
Awesome.
It's ironed out, yeah.
Sweet.
And I was lucky enough, I bought it from Maryland Sound to put in a nightclub in 1979. It was built in 71 by Cal Perkins, supposedly when he was head engineer at JBL. And but anyway, so I knew the history on it. And post disco, rock or pre-disco, rock bands didn't have kick drums. In other words, they didn't have the real heavy duty punch in the kick drums. They had to compete with disco. And so that's when you see like the double 15, double 18 scoops coming out in the PA systems. They wanted a 4-band EQ board. So they wanted to get rid of this to get a 4-band EQ board. And so I snared it back, and it's criminal what I didn't pay for it. But I was always worried Joe Walsh, when he's over here, because he was building a studio in his house, I was always worried he was going to offer me more money than I'd be willing to let it stay here. So I'm thinking, well, what do you tell him? So I'm thinking, you know what? Joe, it's not for sale, but you're more than welcome to use it for free anytime.
As soon as you start talking about rock bands not paying attention to the kick drum until disco, the first image that popped into my head is Joe Walsh. Because he did pay attention to the kick drums, but that's because he did his record.
Well, you pay attention to drums.
Yeah, I do. But I'm not a drummer.
But yeah, when you think of the history on it, you listen to a lot of the old records. You're lucky if you can hear a kick drum.
Yeah, but listen to like early James Gang stuff. Anything that he worked on with Bill Simzik always had great sounding kick drums. Bill Simzik went on to do the Eagles from one of these nights forward.
So well, let's get to some guitars.
Okay.
So the white one over here and this purple one, this is a McCartney 594 double cut. These are great sounding guitars. They sound like just a great PF vintage humbucker guitar. This is a Mark Tremonti, and this is it's a 16K 3-magnet. All I can say about this pickup is it lights up the tubes in the amplifier, and when you play a solo front of house, and the sound guy turns you up, you own the air. So, they may be extreme for somebody. If you want something that just rips face, it's pretty unbelievable.
And don't go to them now, but I do want to talk about the amplifiers because.
Oh, of course.
I don't think in the 2 or 3 times I've been here, we've never talked about the amps.
Oh,
so let's do that at some point.
We'll hit that if we don't bore people. I'm trying not to bore people. So this is another Bella hollow body, but you can't screw up an all mahogany guitar. It's just, I think it's impossible. So if you make it all mahogany, it has the potential to sound great. This is another custom 24 in white, used for TV. Here's the Granger 5-string bass and a 4-string with a maple fingerboard, and then the SE Kestrel bass. And then this is an interesting guitar. So this is the studio model, which these are hum canceling single coil voice pickups. And actually this one actually works quite well, and it has the coil tap as well for the treble pickup.
Do you ever have people come in, they literally want to play like most everything in the room just looking for the sound that lights them up?
Well, see, what I try to do is they generally don't have that kind of time to do it. I do that with some people. Yeah. But I generally try to talk it through with them in about 10 to 15 minutes so you can I can zero in on it. So I'm saving them time because I can just land, take the guitar and just go bam. And it's like, wow. Or
after 5 minutes of talking to you, they would absolutely trust you.
No, it's just trying to keep it fun, you know.
I know. You underrate yourself, though. You don't realize. I mean, I'm jaded, you know. I spent a lot of years working.
It's easy to get jaded.
But I feel like a kid in a candy store when I
Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to look, you know what? If you're not having fun with what you're doing, it's just like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know,
you definitely have fun.
Yeah, I try to have fun. That's a hollow body SE piezo, so that's a less expensive version of the US one. This white one here is a this PRS special, which does a really great coil splitting and with a in between sounds. It's just a very, very versatile guitar. And then the Zach Myers, which I think is the biggest selling signature model, artist signature model, I think, with Sweetwater of all time, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can you name off like a handful of your signature models? And don't walk away, because I want to
Oh,
talk
I'm sorry.
I want to talk about the acoustics too.
Well, there's the Mark Lettieri Fiore, and of course the John Mayer Silver Skies, the US and the offshore ones.
I'm surprised that isn't the most popular model, because he's just out there.
Well, it is intensely popular. You know, our back order is absolutely insane. I don't know, I'm privy to put the number to it, but it's incredible. Yeah, that we've been most successful. And then David Grissom, he builds, you know, he has a great guitar, and Gary Granger on the bass, and I'm sure I'll probably missed somebody, I hope not. And there were some other ones too. This was a kind of an interesting one. See, like this one. So they don't make this one anymore, but I always make the joke that this was one of the least expensive guitars. That was one of the coolest guitars in the room. So this was a moose shock baritone with an ebony fingerboard, tuned B to B.
A what baritone?
Mike Mushock.
Oh.
He was in the band Stained.
Okay.
But I modified it. I put a tremonti in the treble, and then I needed a really great baritone for Nashville, but I needed to be able to compete with like the Dan Electros, things that they were all used to, that they could try to beat it. And so this is a McCartney and this is a tremonti, but it's already pre-wired in single coil mode, and I have a trick that I do with a resistor value that makes it an offset humbucker, so you get humbucker amplitude on the low frequencies, but then from like 200 hertz up, it's all single coil. So a lot of times when you do a coil tap, it would sound like, one day when I grew up, I'd like to sound like a real single coil.
Yeah.
Well, this doesn't do that. In fact, the lower you go in frequency, the more amazing it sounds. And so, yeah, this one almost sounds like it's piezoelectric. It's so clear and beautiful. You could write it.
Why did they quit making it?
Well, it's just market, and then they've got, where's the other one? The other baritone is 277. And this is the latest and greatest baritone with the carved top.
Gorgeous.
So yes, just try to keep it fun. The other thing is when I have the piezo rigs and I'll play it through the DAW, and I mean, think of the chain that it's going through. You want to try to make guitar sound good that people want to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
So it's going through Prism converters, in the Eagles console, and a set of vintage Westlake TM3s or vintage Tannoys, and it just, I mean, they're not. A lot of people just aren't even used to things sounding like that, and it's just so it has the old school charm and the old school voodoo. And
I remember those Westlake models, those like circa 1978, I think.
These were actually from the 80s,
Yeah.
I believe, like 85. I bought these from Bob Goldstein. I used to work with Bob at Maryland Sound. And then, of course, I was general manager at Hammerjacks and front of house engineer for a long time over there. Helped put all that together. So I'm lucky to be alive.
A West Coast standard.
Well, it's a world set. I think they would go for like $86,000 a pair of painted black, and the custom cherry stain mahogany is like a $3,000 to $6,000 upgrade.
Crazy.
So it's nice to have friends that are willing to do you favors. So.
Talk acoustics.
Acoustics.
Yes.
The path to get acoustics. So we originally made the Angelus and the Tenares.
You want me to hold them?
No, it's okay. And then, but they were incredibly, incredibly expensive. So, what do they do? They make these offshore with the same design. So this is the maple back and sides version. Make sure it's in tune. You're gonna play, and so it's all decked out.
Like the one-handed tune.
Yeah. Well, And it actually is a really great, I believe it's a Fishman transducer in this one. And it's interesting because I had the $7,000 one in the shop, and it sounds remarkable, but the less expensive one sat so great in the mix that I actually ended up using the less expensive ones just mic'd up. And it's funny because I'd never really been in the studio business. I was mainly live and just studio for my own stuff. But I remember seeing pictures of the Beatles at Abbey Road with the microphones taped together.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, it reminded me of with a double jack Marshall amplifier, you're getting double sets of harmonics. I said, well, I don't know if they did it for that, but man, that's a great idea. So I was listening to some Telefunken, expensive Telefunkens and stuff. And while they sounded great, I found out that I could actually, of course, I had phenomenal all these vintage mic pre's.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable how good it sounded just using the 58, and then taking the slate microphone. But I would have it literally side by side, so you'd sing in the 58, so you get the chesty, all the strong fundamentals of the fifth and the strength of the 58, with all the beauty and the charm of the big condenser right next to it.
I noticed that you guys are actually. There's an ongoing debate amongst engineers. Taking a 57, do you shove it at the center cone of a speaker in a cabinet, or do you go for the outside? And I see you've got one of each.
It just probably got knocked around. Quite honestly, you put it wherever it sounds good, because you don't know what kind of speaker. I've always been a little hesitant to put it right in the center, because sometimes the high end is literally, what do they say? Mic placement is your first main thing that you need to do before any kind of EQ.
Mic choice and mic.
Yeah, mic choice and placement, right.
Absolutely.
So, not with these speakers per se, but there's some speakers, especially if they got the aluminum domes, it's just like brain dart right off the voice coils. And so, my rule is that there are no rules as long as it sounds great and it doesn't break.
There you go.
There it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trained by Tom Dowd at Criteria, and he always said, "Get down on your knees and listen."
That's it.
But you don't want to do that with an amp.
Well, I do.
Blow your ears out.
I've been lucky. I mean, all the years I should be deaf.
You should be.
But my station tubes used to close up, so I had natural hearing, and so sometimes I need to open up a little if I'm really doing something that's important.
Tell us about amps while we're looking at those guys over there.
Okay, well,
keep pan over.
I'm very, very fond of the Archon 100s because it's also switchable to 50 watts or 100 watts. But this is probably one of the most vicious amplifiers I've ever been around in my life, and I was very blessed. I have a stunning 1971 100 watt super lead that I've sold 3 times to have to go find it to buy it back 3 times for more money.
Wow!
But when one of the guys that was working on this he was working on the distortion circuit, I said, well, you got 100 watts there. Make sure one thing that a lot of guitar amplifiers don't have is they don't have a really great clean channel. They might be really good at dirty, but then you have to have a second amp. So this amplifier is the clean channel is like you're playing through a tube PA system for your guitar. It has so much headroom. If you're playing a single coil guitar, it's so dynamic, it's like you're part of the drum kit. And so I call this industrial clean and industrial dirty. And one of these, and they sometimes make them this way, but I modified the purple one over here, which is an Archon 100. I modified this because I wanted to be able to do some very lyrical solos. The 6L6s are very low and great highs, but I wanted to have some of that old British mid-range in the output tubes. So it's switchable you have the 4 output tubes, so if 50 watts, it's at 100 watts, it's all 4 of them. So one of the tricks I learned by accident in the old days, and Aspen Pittman turned me onto it.
There's a name I haven't heard in 30 years.
He said, man, listen to your amplifier. It's got so many harmonics. And he looks at the back and says, oh, you've got 4 different types of not types output, but makes of output tubes. Yeah. They weren't matching. So what we love is the non-linear stuff.
Interesting.
Right? And so what I did is I put EL34s in this one, so it gets more lyrical mid-range, and then I put JJs in the center. No, I put old school Mullards in the center, so when you flip to 50 watts, it's old school Mullards, British style. And then when you flip it to 100 watts, it kicks in the JJs, and so while they're both EL34s, they're just harmonic. It just creates harmonic generation in the output stage.
How long should somebody who uses their amp on the regular, how long should they use the tubes that it came with before they need to change them out?
Look, I'm a bad person on that one, because I believe if it sounds great, don't change it or take the amp off the road and just use it to record with when it's like that. Because as soon as you put new tubes in it, it's probably not going to sound the way you love it.
Even if you put the exact repeat.
Unless it had new tubes in it when you got it, and that was exactly how you liked it. What we like is when the tubes just kind of get off a little bit and they're non-linear. That's when it creates all the extra harmonics and stuff, and it sounds less solid state, even though it's tube. So yeah, if you want to. And it's not a rule, it's a guideline thing, because every amp is different. But boy, you can change one tube. If I change the driver tube in this, I mean, one might have I think that if I have the numbers right, might have a transconductance of 60, and you get another one that's like 35 or 27 or something. And it's like having a completely different amplifier by changing one tube. In fact, it's really frustrating, because if you have something that's great and then all of a sudden something blows up, it's like you need to be able to recreate that. So what I tell all my friends is you should take every tube and number the tube and document which kind of tube it is, the plate structure, which position it's in, and put it on tube tester and get the transconductance number. If you truly want to be able to have your amp be in the old way that it was, you need to do the homework. Because
you're the coolest nerd I know.
Well,
you know so much about this stuff. It's mind-blowing.
I just know enough to get me in trouble.
Yeah, you know a lot. I'm sure that people in the audience are.
What the hell is he talking about?
No, I'm sure that they're, like guys who own amps that might be ready.
Well, I tell you what, don't get me started. But at some point, if you ever have another show and you want to do on libraries, I'm a library fanatic for sounds. For the.
Oh, you mean as far as sample libraries?
Yeah, sample libraries. Yeah, because to me the magic is sometimes you can get one sound, and generally what I'll do is I'll record it just to see how it translates to a recording.
Yeah.
But you better do it right at the beginning, because sometimes the sound is so inspirational for the first time that it just delivered a whole song to you from beginning to end. And so you I can't tell you how many songs I've definitely must have lost more music than I could ever be aware of. Because I don't record.
What's your current favorite string library? And then we'll get back to guitars.
Well, see, the thing is with I used to mix symphony orchestras and rock bands. So one of the wildest shows I ever had, I had the Fifth Dimensions whole musical production with 64-piece symphony orchestra and the Paul Reed Smith band simultaneously. 105 mics, 96 channels.
Wow.
Outdoors in the July heat. But anyway, so one thing that if you got a computer that's powerful enough to do it, mine I can drive about 40 soft synth samples simultaneously. So one of the things is to mix them up so it gets the chaos of having a real section. So it just doesn't sound like a sample repeating itself. So if you got some of the Albion stuff, like the Flattato strings in Albion 1, I know Albion 2. I got that whole library just for that. It just sounds like the beginning of Batman or something, But dude, we're talking about nerding out. Yeah, I can nerd out.
You are a nerd in the best possible way. What about the amp that's on the right?
These are all Archon 100s, and the reason these are all Archon 100s is because so I can also flip-flop if the bass player wants to be over there. It's so clean and powerful. Like Alex Al, that also played with Michael Jackson, was over here. And he was blown away when playing the baritone through it. It was low frequency. And he's doing like the bass line, the chords, and the melody line simultaneously on a baritone. And it was so clear and clean. He says, wow, so I could use this for a bass amp. But wow, and it's got a distortion channel too, so I can have distortion on the bass. So it's set up like that, and I do have some great other amps. The David Grissom amplifiers. Boy, every time you play those things, you feel like you just want to hit the record button. They're a little pricey, but
What about them makes them so sexy?
the what?
What about them makes them so sexy that you
Well,
want to hit the record button?
Well, Doug Sewell and Paul spent a lot of time and money, and David too. David's got a phenomenal ear. But this is, to me, it's uses what are the EL84s, has 4 EL84s, and it's also got a circuit in the back you can do.
For those of us who don't know, is that a tube designation?
Yeah, it's a tube designation. It's like, I think what they're using the Vox AC30, so it's kind of like a hopped up Vox AC30, but it just sounds, all the distortion on that is all dynamic. Sometimes, like with the Archons, it's just rip your face off, right? But the distortion on this amplifier, on the Grissom 30, is the breakup is all dynamic in your hands. So it's a vocal musical distortion, and it's emotionally dynamic with the distortion on how you're playing the guitar. So that's cool. And then
You were so born to do this job. Every time I hang out with you, it's like, is there anything more that I can learn from this guy? You're an encyclopedia.
Yeah, I don't know, an encyclopedia.
Yeah, you are.
I had would be able to show you the John Mayer JM100 amplifier because we built John's amplifier, but I just sent that off to Keith Irvin. So and then he's looking for another one. So, and these are the new Archon 50s. These are the less expensive versions, which are probably a little more classic voice. To me, the original Archons are, you can just take into a level of vicious, like no other. But these are probably a little more predictable voice, a little more classic voiced.
What kind of speakers do you use in the cabinets?
The Celestians most of the time. I believe they use a lot of vintage 30s, but they modify them. They break them in.
Really?
Yeah, Paul modifies everything. Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, there was one time when I was working on an amp project and we had this one shipment. You'd get these big boxes of speakers from Celestion. Yeah. And they're supposed to be the same sound. They'd be the same model. It should sound the same, right? So we had this one box that was just an oddball box, but they sounded tremendous. And so we took one, we're thinking, there's got to be a reason for it. So we took it apart and looking at the voice coil, and the CNC coil winders incorrectly wound the voice coils. Usually the layers lay right on top of one another. Yeah. Well, they were offset, so it was creating harmonic generation once again. And so it was just something about it that just sounded better. And we tried to ask them to make it, and it's like we were told it's just not proper.
So did you?
It's just not proper. So
did you guys modify them, like going and rewind?
No, we didn't. No. It's too much to do for we weren't a speaker company. But we tried to get them to ask them to do that for us, to deliberately make them the wrong way, and he wouldn't do that.
Well, we'll have to start a campaign of people emailing them. All right, let's sit down. How are we doing on time? We got like 20 some minutes left.
Oh, okay.
Let's sit down and take questions from the audience.
Yeah, let's do that.
Just because you're such a wealth of information.
That sounds like fun.
Okay.
Yeah, we can sit over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, I think, better with the light.
Oh, you lost the other thing. Okay, hang on, everybody. I got to find the chat room. Tom's waving his arms. Yes. Been holding the laptop for an hour now. Sorry, Tom.
That's one way to build the muscles up in your forearms.
There it is. Minimized at some point. Okay, I'm going to figure this out, everybody. Well, here. Oh, shit. No. I just lost us. Where did it go? All right. I'm guessing that it's over there somehow. I'm trying. Well, here. Let's look at Winn. You can talk about stuff while I try and refine the chat room.
Coffee machines.
Yeah, tell us about the coffee machine.
Let's see. We can get into. Oh, these are interesting.
I don't know how to do this.
Oh, have I still on over here?
Huh? Yeah, you're
So these pickups, I believe, that were originally on the Starla, and the double screw pole pieces on this one, and sort of reminiscent of the Gretsch Filtertron, as I believe. Like on the white one over there, I don't know if you can see the white one. That one's got the same kind of pickups, but this is a really great indie type guitar. It shocks a lot of people. It's also all mahogany, which, like I say, it's really difficult to mess up an all mahogany guitar.
What's that color called?
Seafoam green metallic, I believe, because there's if I move it around, it's got like a silver metallic in it.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
But basically, it looks like it would be a seafoam green, except it looks like it's got a slight like silver sparkle.
If I can really hear your Baltimore.
I know it won't go away.
All right, there we go. Now we've got the chat open. All right, I'm going to give this chair back to Tom.
Well, actually, you need the chair. You need a.
No, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Boy, once a live guy, always a live guy. Where's the air conditioner? Oh, make it a little cooler.
Just push it.
Got it.
Yeah, that sun starts. You can bring this down. Once that sun starts coming on the other side, it starts getting close.
Here you go, Tom. I'm going to give you this one.
Yes. It's amazing the difference on the tunings of the guitars with the temperature in the room. It's changed more than you'd think.
Wrong screen. I gotta switch back. Yeah, I got it now.
Hello.
Working on it. Awesome. All right, I've got both up.
Okay. So first question you see, and you guys should type in the word question in all caps so it's easy to spot them in the chat.
Does PRS still offer a string-through hardtail solid body?
When you say string through, do you mean from the back of the guitar?
I'm not sure.
Oh, they can hear me though, right?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Yeah. So I mean,
we'll take them.
string through. Well, I mean,
Yes. Martin
oh,
says yes. This is
I don't
Martin
think
Frog.
it's good. You know what? I might take that back. Let me look at the PR. They may have done it, but that's a trem guitar. Problem is, some of these guitars I wasn't part of the design, so I'm not, because I've been out here 9 or 10 years. So, not that I recall. I know I think the Mooshock baritone, when they made that was string through, but I don't know currently if they have one. I don't think so.
Martin Gravel asks, let's make Michael a bit nervous. So which one of these guitars is the prize for tonight?
Oh, I didn't know there was a prize. Is there a prize?
There's not a prize.
Oh, look at that. Ben.
Nice try, Martin.
Good job.
I'll get you a PRS sticker for you.
Well, we should have said something ahead of time. We probably could have done something. Yeah.
Well, honestly, you guys gave away a prize at the Road Rally.
Absolutely.
So I didn't want to ask twice in the same 12-month period.
Don't hurt to ask.
Let's see. John Clavin says, I am surprised you don't make more hollow body, single F-hole with a Les Paul body shape. What's up with that?
I don't know if they're making the single cut hollow bodies anymore. That's like I showed you my employee guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, as far as I know, the only single cut hollow body 594 piezo in existence. I did think I thought I saw that somebody had made one, maybe a semi hollow, but not the full hollow. Are you talking about the semi hollow or a full hollow?
It takes about 20 seconds for them to respond.
Oh, okay.
It's got to bounce off the moon and back.
That's good.
While we're...
I'm also not the marketing department, so I'm an extension of it, I guess, with artist relations, so to speak. But that was the fun part when I was when I first came from R&D and creating a lot of the guitars, and I came to artist relations. I did make a lot of custom guitars for artists. but I don't know if we're so busy with work that I don't think there's a whole lot of that.
I'm still blown away by the fact that you get paid to do this.
Shh.
This is the semi-hollow.
Semi-hollow. The Zach Myers. Here, I'll even grab it. Hold on a second.
Let's get you.
Yes, I think. And this, I think, is the one of them most sold single cut hollow bodies of an artist model. Yeah, they made this.
And that is truly gorgeous because it's got the blue front and the natural wood sides and back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So you can get these. This is the Zach Myers model with the stop tail bridge.
So Andre asks, I have the 245. What makes the Santana model besides the sustain?
The 245. Oh, you mean the 24.5 scale length? I think that's what he's talking about. And so, it's a Carlos. Is it an SE? SE guitar?
Let's see what he says.
I would say basically sustain is a function of the setup, the woods that are involved, the bridge materials, and the nut materials. You know.
Is it an ongoing thing that people strive to keep? Is there such a thing as too much sustain?
No, I don't think so. I mean, sometimes you like a staccato sound, you use a maple fingerboard, but or you just do the staccato yourself. But they generally like a guitar that'll just naturally ring. You know, I mean, that's the goal. I remember there was a time when we were holding at the Smithsonian the $30 million ornamented quartet, and they were letting us study those instruments so we could study how, you know, Stradivarius made the best violins and cellos in the world. And I tell you, man, when you hit that cello, it sounded like the human voice. It was pretty bad. And so Paul literally has all kinds of medals in his office.
Yeah.
I mean, you think I'm a nerd with this stuff? He goes down to the teeniest little level of everything and alloys, and so he's got samples of all these alloys, and you hit it. He'll even do that with a wood in his wood library. You can hold the neck blank up and tap the neck blank and see how long it sustains if he's built a custom guitar for somebody.
Is there a holy grail for guys like you and Paul? Anything that you can talk about? There may be something that's your holy grail.
You mean of guitars?
Yeah.
Something that works right and that just plays and inspires you. And it's simple. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to work.
I've got to say, your love for this guitar. I mean, like 3 times today you went back to this guitar and talked about how great it is.
Well, it surprised me.
Yeah.
It surprised me because, especially at the price point, I don't know. Look, I was thinking, the last thing I need is to go buy another guitar. And when that guitar came out, it was like, oh damn, I might have to get one of those. And I'm thinking, like, man, right? You're around, 50 guitars a day. Plus I've got a couple.
And you can play them until when you buy one and you get bored with it, or you've just explored everything you can, you're still stuck with it. You're the owner. Here, you get a revolving door, a carousel of awesomeness.
Yeah, but the only, and this isn't a bad thing per se, but when I originally was a guitar player. But I switched over to keys because when I get home after working around guitars all day long, when you pick up a guitar after being at work all day long, it feels like you're back at work.
I know that people always say, what do you listen to at home? I don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
I listen to too much already. But, and so, the other thing is I need to start practicing my butt off because I get some of the best guitar players in the world come in here, and I don't want to feel like an idiot in the room with them. I don't want to just plunk a couple notes and feel like the dummy. in the room.
At the upcoming Road Rally, which is November 3rd through the 7th, I think, this year, live at the West End, unless we have another massive outbreak of COVID, we're going to be there.
That would be
Hopefully you guys will be back. I would love to do an hour with you and 2 or 3 of my favorite TAXI members who are like virtuoso guitar players, and just do like a player's jam up in the upstairs ballroom one night.
Oh, well, it's weird because with the keyboards, it's a little more difficult for me to jam on the keyboards.
No, I'm talking about guitar.
Oh, I was going to say guitar's a lot. First of all, I find guitar more fun to play in the band.
Yeah.
First, it's funny because I used to work with these keyboard players, and I won't mention name, but one of the things they always wanted to do is they're so jealous of the emotion that you can put just through the string and the control. And having to do a mod wheel on a keyboard is not really the same thing. You're detached. And there's a couple things like the arpeggio and a couple things where you can get in there and sort of do it. But I know that's one of the things a lot of keyboard players have been trying to do, is to be able to get that emotion tactile to their fingers with the vibratos.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do it.
I've seen a couple of new products hit the market in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
but I haven't heard anybody raving about any of them. But Tom, remind me of that when we get close to the
I'll be
rally.
happy to.
I think that'd be a really fun night with like Keith LeBrant and I can't remember his name from Phoenix area. Best like greasy chicken picking guitar player.
Well, the other thing too is I have over a 12 to 14 Rolodex of probably some of the best guitar players in the world. If you want them to come to your show or be a part of your show, I'd be happy to. We can talk to them and,
Maybe we should do that. Maybe we could do a clinic night or a clinic class or something.
We can do anything.
All right.
You just keep it fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's always fun at the Road Rally. All right, hit us with another question, please.
So Nancy asks, where is the first PRS electric guitar ever made for sale kept?
There's a room, an archives room. Now, it might have moved in the past 9 to 10 years, but there was we had an artist relations stock room there, and adjacent to that was an archives room where most of the archived guitars. And I think Paul went on a pretty good hunt looking for a lot of the guitars that were part of the history, trying to get that stuff back.
Does he have a personal favorite, Paul?
I think he would say the same thing I did, is that he just wants something that just really works. If your emotion can pass through it and and it sounds great and it's inspiring you, what more can you ask for? Then it's worth every penny.
I've got to say, John Mayer.
Those guys really, I wasn't around for the design of that one because I was out here, but they really did nail that. And even the marketing launch of it was exceptional.
He's such a great player.
Yes, he is.
He is a world class. I mean, I've worked with Eric Clapton. I would put John Mayer on a parallel stage with him. I think John Mayer's gifted. He's special. Anyway,
he is.
One more question, or a couple more questions.
Marion asks, what kind of cello is that over behind the piano, and who plays it?
I mess with it because I'm into strings so much. I had created a wacko thing where I was using it pitch to MIDI, where I was being the first chair of the cello, and then I would drive the whole digital section behind me with it. Yes, I'm a nerd.
You are, but in the best possible way.
And so, I love strings so much that I felt I needed to go ahead and get one. I've got my father's 100-some-year-old violin too, and I've got one of those laminate fingerboards with frets that you can do in there, and it's just like, I even Mark Wood, he lent me a 7-string prototype. I just don't know how you just friggin' do it. You can even, just trying to hold it seems monumental.
Speaking of frets, do different models have different metals used in their frets? Is a fret?
Usually, there's different alloys and stuff. I'm not sure what they're currently using now. It's usually, I believe, a nickel. It's something to be hard.
Yeah.
Some guys like stainless, so I always found that stainless was the dead metal. When you drop it, it just goes bonk.
Right.
And so if the string's vibrating on that, I don't know if that's the best possible material to use. But, I mean, there's nickel and stainless. But frets, the David Grissom guitar uses bigger frets. I think it's more of the size and the width and the crowning on them.
Interesting. All right. Another question.
They're asking if you're a fan of Jordan Rudess.
I used to play with Jordan Rudess. He was the second keyboardist in my very first band.
Wow.
I played for 5 years with Jordan. And yes, he was an inspiration. I grew up in keyboard royalty. My first keyboard player in my very first band was Richard Elliott, who's the head organist for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. My second keyboard player I played for 5 years was Jordan. And then over the Cathedral of Mary at Queen Road, they let me play the pipe organ every day after school. The director there, Robert Twynham, was a composition student of Olivier Messiaen, one of the French Impressionistic masters. And then there's a guy named Randall Mullen that I studied with that does all the Hawkwork videos, probably one of the best pipe organists on the planet. So I was very, very blessed. Yes, I love Jordan. Yeah, he's awesome.
Glad you asked that question.
I was trying not to use names, but yes. You asked.
All right. We've got time for probably 2 more.
Oh, I think we're caught up. Let's see if anybody asks any more.
This room is just unbelievable.
Well, the whole idea is to get used for a full band. This thing sounds so freaking good that you just track everything out of the mic pre's on it, and it was before even doing anything. It almost sounds like a finished record before you even do anything to it. Yeah. But that's the fun
No
thing.
more questions. Apparently you
Questioned out, huh?
Here we go. What are the differences between on and offshore guitars besides the price?
The quality of the builder. It depends if you talk about our people or other companies.
yours.
Our company, one of the top people at the company, Jack Higginbotham, from what I understand, literally goes to the factory. They basically show them the way that we make guitars, and we transfer all of our, I wouldn't say historic ways, but just the ways that we make guitars and the drying times and the techniques, and that's all expressed to them. And you know what? Sometimes the other companies too have things that we learn from.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be expensive to be good. It just has to be done well. Yeah.
You got another one?
And you have to care. Yeah.
Do you make a 7-string model?
I believe they do. There's yeah, come to the next question. While I'm thinking about that, it'll just fall to yes, we do.
Got one more for you. How many
Mark
guitars?
Holcomb. See, if you don't think about it, it comes right to you. I believe there's a Mark Holcomb 7-string. It's funny how that works. You stop thinking about things, and all of a sudden the brain just clears out. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
They say walking into a different room will bring things back, but we can't do that right now.
And final one, Winn. How many guitars do you think you actually own?
I don't, actually, it's interesting. I always enjoyed having one guitar that I loved. I was never one, when I did gigs playing guitars, I actually usually only brought one guitar. I guess most of the time I should have brought a second one in case I broke a string. I remember one time I was being a real young, and this is when I was in high school too. We were playing, I only had one guitar, I broke a string and I didn't have replacement strings, and I actually had to tie it into a knot to get through the gig. I know it's hysterical, but it worked.
How did you do that?
You tie it into a knot and clip it off, and I literally had to get through. I didn't, but I always believe in just using what you love.
The knot didn't get too tight and like pop out.
No. But anyway, so how many guitars? Okay, answer. So 1, 2. I don't know. I might have like 4 guitars.
Why would you need any when this is where you work every day?
Well, like I said, I usually like just having the one guitar that I truly just love to play, and I love to play that, and unless there's a real reason for me to have to pick up something else. Because the other thing is the employee guitars that I showed you are incredibly versatile. They're like 5-trick ponies, and so I can cover a lot of ground with that. So, plus I kind of have one kind of style. I'm like real aggressive rock on keyboards, and then I'm more classic. I mean, I'm classical on keyboards, but really aggressive rock. I don't say metal, but aggressive, like progressive rock on guitar. So it's weird. So when you mix the two together, it sounds kind of like a Danny Elfman film score with 100-watt Marshalls.
Well, this has been better than I imagined it would be. I hope that the people...
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening and putting up with me. Yeah.
No, it's whoever gets a chance to hang out with a guy like you, you know?
Oh, we got people all the time. You can come by anytime. It's just COVID.
I think that for the upcoming road rally, assuming that PRS comes back again as a sponsor, let whoever wins the guitar gets to come down here and spend a couple hours
anytime.
with you. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, bring some of your staff. You got any staff that are guitar players, just come bring them down. And that's what it's all here for, the share, the sharing and the learning, and it would, like I said, when you give forward, it comes back tenfold. So you just do the right thing and you help. You help.
You definitely give forward, and just thank you to you and to Bev for
and the opportunity.
Making this happen. And where can they PRS.com or is it Paul Reed Smith Guitar?
PRSguitars.com.
PRSguitars.com. Now that you've been educated and you know all about them, go buy one.
Yeah.
They are a sponsor. They do make the road rally possible for us. Anyway, with that, I bid you a fond farewell. I'm taking next Monday off, so Taxi TV will be on hiatus next Monday, but back the Monday after that. We will see you guys then. Hit the music, Tom.
Take care.
Okay. Awesome. Just let it run a little bit.